Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm Wind, and today we're looking at Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. So, let's get into the story of how this game came to... ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is Caption, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I built him out of some spare parts and some blueprints I found on the internet to help me with some of the editing. Now that we all know each other, let's continue with the review. It's an acronym, so moving right along. Can we talk about this later? Look, I was in a hurry when I was putting you together. Can we talk about this later? Damn it, fine, okay? Caption stands for Compiling, Automated, Persistent, Telegraphing, Inconsequential, Ongoing Narrative. Happy now? Can we move on? Good. Now let's jump into Vampire the Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm Wind, and this is Intermission, a show where we take a look at the games of yore and determine if your rose-tinted spectacles are clouding your judgment. Today we are looking at Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, an action role-playing game set in White Wolf Incorporated's World of Darkness pen and paper series, Vampire the Masquerade. The game was developed by Trokia Games and published by Activision. It was released in North America on November 16th, 2004, and then released on the 19th in the EU. The game received mixed reviews from critics at the time of its release, but it has gained a popular cult following over the years. Let's see. Trokia Games was founded in 1998 by Tim Kaine, Leonard Boyarsky, and Jason D. Anderson, who had worked at Interplay on the Fallout series. They decided to leave Interplay due to some disagreements about the future team structure and formed a company that felt more like, quote, the old Interplay. End quote. I wouldn't know. I've never played an Interplay game before, and I haven't played a Trokia game before this, so your guess is as good as mine. They made two other games before working on Bloodlines, Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura and the Temple of Elemental Evil. Unfortunately, due to some disappointing sales on their last title and unable to secure funding for future projects, they were forced to lay off their staff in late 2004 and close their doors on February 28, 2005. The game is also notable for being the first third-party game to use Valve's Source Engine, but some of the features of the game were not completed during Bloodlines' development. This sounds like Valve's first attempt at their early access program on Steam. The nearly 3-year-long development of the game seemed to be plagued by many problems. They had to write their own AI routines, which never worked as well as the code Valve eventually developed for their Source Engine. Early attempts to create a multiplayer were unsuccessful, and eventually the feature was abandoned. And the original writing team was replaced midway through the project, causing most of the game's levels and dialogues to be completely revised. In 2 years and not being able to meet Activision's satisfaction, the publisher took several steps to finish the troubled production. I've seen games get canned with less development problems. So is this game Trokia's swan song, or was this game cursed from the beginning to bring them down? When it did finally go gold, there were still many technical and playability bugs, but none of them were judged to be serious enough to further delay shipping of the game. After it launched, Activision compiled a list of problems that customers were reporting to its customer service. Trokeo was then approved to spend a week creating a patch to fix most of the serious problems. True, but despite this, several of those employees continued to work without pay on version 1.2, which, after 3 weeks of development, was released a month after the game launched. The reception for the game was generally well received, with people giving it above average scores, saying that the RPG elements were great, but the AI and the combat were lacking, to be nice. But despite the favorable reviews, Bloodlines underperformed in the first weeks of its sales. Anyway, let's boot this thing up and... Well, it is an older game. We are gonna run into this sort of thing. Yeah, it is giving me a headache. And it is notorious for being one buggy-ass game. But this is... Surely there are some mods to make this at least look better. Yes, there is an unofficial patch, called the unofficial patch, that was made by a fan to fix most of the bugs, and even add more modern touches like a higher screen resolution. So I'll show you guys how to set up some of these mods, because, well, some of you have never done mods before, I'm sure. I've never done mods before myself, until more recently. So first off, you're going to want to download the installer for the unofficial patch. We'll have a link for you in the show notes below. Once you have that downloaded, go into your downloads folder and activate. Go ahead, read the legal jargon, and once you get to this point, you're going to want to find the folder where you're keeping the game. I myself am playing this game through Steam, so I have to go into the Steam folders here. And as you can see here, it's not that hard to get to. You mainly just want to find the main folder. So once you know where you're going, just follow the same directions that you took to get there the first time, and show the installer where to go. After that, hit the next button, and right here are just some extra things, but you don't really need those. The ones that you need are the ones that are grayed out. Those are the unofficial patch notes that'll help fix any bugs. You can install the other programs, but for this review, let's just stick with the basic stuff. And then you'll start to download. And after you've selected your options, the installer will put the patch into your game, hopefully making it run smoother. You may run into a problem where the game won't launch. I've run into that myself. The easiest way to fix this is to take the game and the program you're running the game through, such as Steam, and have them run through administrative mode. Now, if that doesn't work, there are some workarounds that are in the README files that the installer put into the same folder as the patch. And hopefully after that you're ready to go and play as a new vampire. Alright, patch is installed and here we go! Weird, but okay, let's try it out. The hell with you. I'll play as a Nosferatu and be the best damn one there is. Let's see. We've got Bruja, Gangrel, Malkavian, Nosferatu, Toreador, Tremere, and Venture. At least I think that's how you pronounce them. Each have 3 special vampire powers that fit with their clan, and some have completely different styles of gameplay. I don't really expect something like that from older games. But anyway, let's jump into the world of darkness. The game starts with our character dying. Shut it. And his rebirth as a vampire. Oh boy, could you imagine that though? You spend maybe 30 minutes creating this character, then they're immediately killed off in the first cutscene, putting you in control of a completely different character who is actually the main character. Though I think something like that might be better used in a more satirical game other than something like this. But we're getting off topic. Somehow the player is not dead from a stake to the heart, just merely stunned. But you and the vampire that sired you are taken to a theater as a makeshift courtroom. I think. It's not really explained what a group of vampires deciding on the fate of another is called. Coven? No, I think that's witches. But anyway, your sire is executed for turning you into a vampire without really getting permission, and your fate seems unknown.
Which leads to the fate of the ill-begotten progeny. Without a sire, most children are doomed to walk the earth never knowing their place, their responsibility, and most importantly, the laws they must obey. Therefore, I have decided that
this is bullshit!
if Mr. Rodriguez would let me finish, I have decided to let this kindred live. They shall be instructed in the ways of our kind and be granted the same rights. Let no one say I am unsympathetic to the plights and causes of this community. I thank you all for attending these proceedings, and I hope their significance is not lost. Good evening.
Prince Lecrae talks with the player, letting them know what is expected of them and that they are to speak with a ghoul in Santa Monica. We are escorted out the back and we run into...
What a scene, man! Ooh-wee! They just plop you out here like a naked baby in the woods. How about that?
Yep, the one thing that you're going to notice the most is the list of recognizable names in the cast, such as John DiMaggio, Gray DeLille, Phil Lamar, Courtney Taylor, D. Bradley Baker, Steve Bloom, Mary Elizabeth McGillen, and that's just to name a few. And I enjoyed my interactions with the characters throughout the game. They're all well done and pretty memorable. Though at times there is some dodgy acting. Maybe I should clarify that. In something like this, you don't just have one actor playing one role. You have two playing one role. You have the voice actor, and then you have the animator. Both of them are needed to convey important information so you understand what is going on within the story. But sometimes it doesn't work out all that well. Sometimes the voice actor sounds like he's really bored telling you this really important information that could be the life and death of everybody. or the facial animation has some weird bug that makes it look really creepy or really freaking hilarious. Oh yeah, there was some obvious effort put into the facial animations. They didn't just cop out and do flapping jaws with a blank, featureless expression like most games did during this time. They did give them expressions, even though sometimes it didn't match the inflections in the actor's voice. And sometimes the animations will just jerk around. Don't get me started on the camera. You get a choice between a first-person or a third-person view. Some things, like using melee weapons, force you into a specific view, but doesn't automatically go back to the previous view when you're done with it. It's not game-breaking, but it's a little annoying to have to go back and forth. Oh, right. During our conversation with Jack, we were given the option to do the tutorial level, or skip it entirely if we feel we know what we're doing. Shut it. Anyway, you are taught the basics as a clan of vampires known as the Sabbat attempt to take control of the area through violence. Shut it. You are taught how your clan-specific powers work, how to lockpick, hack, sneak, fight, and some of the rules of the Masquerade. Once in Santa Monica, you find that your job there is to root out members of the Sabbat clan. After that, you are requested in the downtown area by LeCroix, who tells you about a possible vampire artifact called the Ankarn sarcophagus, believed to contain the remains of an ancient vampire. This is going to be your main story mission throughout the game. It'll send you through 4 different sections of the LA area: Santa Monica, downtown, Chinatown, and Hollywood. We find out that during our adventure that there are 4 factions vying for control of the city. There are the Sabbat we fought earlier, there is the Camarilla that LeCroix is a high-ranking official of, there are the Anarchs led by Nines Rodriguez, whom we saw at the hearing, and the Kuei Jin, who have taken up residence in Chinatown and are led by Ming Zhao. Yes, their undeath is different from other vampires. They are not chosen by other Kuei Jin, but rather it seems to be random or fate that turns somebody into a Kuei Jin after their death. They don't burn in the sunlight, but rot instead, and can also eat more than just blood. Well, no, we don't. Anyway, let's talk about something else. It is an action RPG, so some of what you can do is limited to how many points you have in any particular skill. Skills like stealth, firearms, melee, things like that don't require you to have a lot of points to do anything, but the points do make using that stuff easier. The game will tell you after you fail at performing a skill what your skill level should be at to succeed. Exactly. I enjoy it. The only way to receive skill points is to finish quests instead of killing creatures. 1, I think you're too used to the MMO format. And B, it doesn't bother me too much. It's the penalties you've got to worry about. Players will be penalized. Players will be penalized for exhibiting vampiric abilities in front of humans by the loss of Masquerade points, which can also be reacquired by performing actions to protect the Masquerade. If the player loses 5 Masquerade points, the game ends, supposedly with the Camarilla hunting your ass down. And then you also have humanity points, which have an impact on how well the character can be controlled when his or her blood supply is low. This can cause the character to go into a feeding frenzy at the wrong time, which in turn can lead to Masquerade violations. Humanity points are awarded for acts of kindness, such as finding alternatives to killing certain non-player characters. They can be taken away if the player character kills a human outside a combat zone, intentionally or not, or if the character commits an unethical deed such as throwing a little old lady into traffic. What traffic? Have you seen this world? Though if I'm completely honest, I'm glad they didn't put in LA traffic. My immersion is not broken without it. Unlike Masquerade points, the game does not end if the player's humanity level drops to minimum, but the player's character is almost certain to enter frenzy when its blood level is low, and some dialogue options may change. Having a very high or a very low humanity affects some conversation options. Experience points can be used to purchase humanity points. The game developers do a good job at teaching you the mechanics of the game. You aren't going to get halfway through the game, then finally discover how stealth kills work. Wait, there's a game manual? Let's talk about the combat. This is going to be tough. Because it's an action RPG, you do need to put points into your combat abilities. You are a little weak at the start, but it's balanced around that. But with that being said, your best tools for combat are melee, shotguns, and flamethrowers. Right. But other firearms, unless you've really put all your points into it, but even then that's questionable, are difficult to use. Firearms that have a scope or zoom function are akin to trying to drunkenly hit a bullseye on a dartboard while on a boat in the middle of a storm as someone shakes you violently. But that is not to say that all the guns are bad. The handguns are kind of in the middle of the road, with shotguns being the best, rifles being at the bottom, and flamethrowers just being awesome. Yeah, but you're going to be using melee and shotguns mostly because of the knockback effect they have. Melee weapons have a kinda conal AoE, allowing you to hit multiple targets at once. And did we mention the flamethrowers? Maybe we did. Although I did spend most of my time in the shadows recreating the chestburster scene from Alien with a sword. Sneaking through the game was fun, and you had an indicator on how well you are hidden. You have a bar letting you know how much light is touching you. Above that, you have an indicator on how close the nearest person to you is, and it changes color depending on how likely you are to be spotted from your current distance. But the AI can be a little... how can I put this delicately? Stupid. I've bumped into my targets more than once, and they've just walked on like nothing happened. It could be attributed to the fact that I had put a lot more points into sneaking later on, causing this to happen, because I never noticed it happening in the early game. But that doesn't excuse the rest of the combat. There were points I found myself terribly underpowered for a fight, but I would be able to cheese it by running around in a circle shooting them as they tried to catch up to me. Speaking of the music, we have caption if you would be kind enough to. Thanks. Anyway, we have original music written by Rick Schaefer for the game's ambiance, and there are licensed tracks from groups that Caption is mentioning right now. The song Bloodlines, performed by Ministry, had lyrics written specifically for the game and is a revised version of the song So What. And for those people who pre-ordered the game from Best Buy, they received the official soundtrack of the game. The music made by Rick Schaefer for the game's background and ambience feels like it fits within the world of darkness. It has that feeling of being dark and mysterious, but still something that could pull you into the world. It doesn't feel like that it's out of place at all. And if they had both the licensed music and the game's music for sale, I would buy it. Do you need a moment? This game is kind of a flawed gem. The RPG elements are top-notch, the combat, well, not the best, isn't going to keep you from progressing, and yes, it does have a lot of great voice talents in it as well. The game will take you 40 plus hours to complete, and that's if you don't feel like going back and playing it again, but in a different way. Most of the quests have more than one outcome, and can be done in multiple ways. There are 4 endings to experience too. Agreed, the game by itself does leave much to be desired, but that's an easy fix and not very hard to get around. Caption, do we have anything planned for next time? Okay. Anyway, final thoughts. I think this is a worthwhile experience that fans of the pen and paper series will enjoy. People who like action RPGs will enjoy the RPG side of this, but maybe not the combat side of it. And the cult fans of this game already reinstalled it after looking at the title of this video. What are your thoughts, Caption? Masquerade! I am tone deaf. Masquerade. I don't remember the lyrics to this song. Masquerade. Something every day. Masquerade. You can pwn any noob that is behind you. It's something with the chicken and a thing with the thing and the thing with the thing. I don't know what I'm saying. Racist on the street, in your car, on your back. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Heidi Klum, Mr. Shoe, a baboon with the spoon on the moon. What the hell am I saying? I don't know. Drink it in, drink it up till you drown. Wait, that is what they say. What the hell is wrong with me? Masquerade! Something every day. Masquerade. You can do any person who is beside you. Masquerade. Smacking children everywhere. Masquerade. It's the other option just for you. Masquerade. Now we're whispering everywhere. Masquerade. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Masquerade! What the hell is in my head? Masquerade! It's full of... I don't know. I don't know what it's full of. I'm sorry. I apologize. Bye!